Websites are hugely important for your business. If you don't have one, you're probably missing out. So head over to nhbusinessshow.com/Zimventures to check out our newest sponsor and see what he can do for you and your website today. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hamster Business Show. My name is Chris Pastrana, and today I'm here with Steve Gamlin, the Motivational Firewood Guy.
How's it going, Chris?
Good. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming out and for taking the extra trip to bring your books.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah, well, a couple of nor'easters got in the way. We were in a brand new house. We moved in just in time to have to shovel out 2 blizzards. So I didn't quite get to the post office. My apologies.
No, that was very fun. Yeah, so how's those? Can't even talk. How are those nor'easters treating you guys?
It was pretty good. It was the toughest part was we actually moved in the day before nor'easter number 2.
Yeah.
And I had to learn a new driveway with the snowblower. And I figured out once a bunch of black bark mulch was flying out the chute that I'd gone beyond the driveway. So I got a little repair work to do in the spring already. I'm sure my new neighbors just thought it was hysterical.
They probably did.
Yep, I did too, actually. I'm like, hey, we're in a new house. Hey, that's not pavement.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's too funny.
So it's going great.
Yeah. So let's get a little history on you. Kind of your past, everything. What led you up to here now?
Yeah, I was actually from my mid-20s to the mid-30s. Had a very successful and fun, exciting, happy radio career. And I worked about 15 years worth of hours in 10 years. And I was absolutely mentally, physically, emotionally just fried. And one of the things that has happened over and over in my life, when I'm fried, when I'm done, I'm done. And I walked away from the radio career, which led to my first marriage ending, which led to, at age 35, being about $65,000 in debt and crawling home to live with family.
Yeah.
In the ashes. And I spent about a year or two kind of deciding, okay, where do I want to go? What did I used to do or feel like to be happy? And how can I get that back again? And I really spent a lot of time taking notes, reading a lot of material, finding a lot of experts, throwing out some of the materials from gurus out there. And I really put myself back together, and I met a coach. And one of the first sessions we had was me telling him a story about hitting a bucket of golf balls in a thunderstorm under power lines, daring God to hit me, and actually holding the club up and waving it a little bit, just sarcastically. He thought that was the funniest thing in the world, and he asked, have you ever thought of being a stand-up comedian or a motivational speaker?
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, actually I've wanted to do both for years. And within 6 months I was doing both, and that was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it ever since. So people ask me, hey, how can I become a speaker? A, wreck your life. B, put it back together. And C, take notes. And then just share them with people in a way that you can teach a lesson. And if you have something to share that could help somebody, it's probably a good idea to figure out a way to do it. And I just like doing it on a stage.
Yeah. That's really interesting because I had another guest on just a couple hours ago, and she said something very similar about, the normal people probably shouldn't be the coaches and stuff. The good coaches are the ones who their lives have literally just fallen apart.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you rebuild yourself, you have something to teach them now.
Yeah. There was a glut of coaches, people becoming coaches about 15 or 16 years ago. Yeah. And it came across a lot of the ones I spoke to, and the reason I settled on mine, and I've had 2 coaches, or 3 in the last 15 years. They've all been amazing because they've all walked their talk. There was this big glut of people who academically, the study programs, became certified to be coaches. But in my opinion, a lot of them didn't have the practical hands-on. They hadn't walked through it. They didn't have the scars. Yeah. I think that any great lesson has a scar behind it. And when I'm 90, I want to be on my front porch smiling, covered in them, because I wasn't afraid to go do something and learn, and then be able to authentically share the advice. That's why what I talk about on stage, I've been through it all. I mean, these are my stories.
Yeah.
I don't go read Reader's Digest and go, well, that might be helpful. I've been keeping journals for about 28 years.
Yeah.
And when I became a speaker, I went back through a lot of them, and there were things I hadn't even remembered that I'd gone through. And that's kind of the seeds of what I talk about now. I mean, one of my newest stories actually happened New Year's Eve, waiting 2 hours for Chinese food in a restaurant. The people by the front door complained the whole time, and the people who went on the other side of the glass, we were having a party back there. So, it's real life.
Wow. So you brought up a couple things I thought are pretty cool. There's, I don't know if you know Gary Vaynerchuk.
Big fan of Gary Vee.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Because he talks about a point, and you hit on it perfectly. I think this is fantastic. When he says, sometimes you don't have to create content. Sometimes you just record it. And then that can be your whole thing. That's what I'm doing for the show.
Yep.
Like, I create these interviews and stuff like that, but I don't like create a whole bunch of, oh, this is how you run your business. Like, I relay a lot of what I do to my audience, so they get to watch me expand this as I grow and stuff. And so a lot of, just recording and putting out what I'm doing instead of like preaching from the next level that we're not at yet.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are too many experts out there who, they're the gurus, and they thunderously, it's lasers and fog machines and fist pumping music and everybody just this just insanity level of things. And then you get people like Gary who sit in the back of the car with their iPhone and record a video.
Yeah.
Some people like Gary's approach and some don't. But I really like that he's from the gut. Everything really that he talks about, he's lived.
Yeah.
He's had the highs, the lows. He started with nothing and he created something pretty amazing. And I'm a fan. I like his approach, and I try to be in that vein. There's nothing about me that's perfect. But there's a lot of lessons, some of which took a long time to learn, and that's really what I share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. That's pretty cool. So you mentioned being on the radio. So what did you do on the radio? I was being a host, but
I was a morning show producer actually for most of my 10 years. So I was the guy behind the glass. I worked for 3 years in the late 90s at Rock 101 in Manchester as part of the Baxter in the Morning Show. I was Silent Steve, which will let you know how much they let me talk.
Yeah.
But everything you heard that was not a spoken voice was me. And at the end of each show, I would just look down at the board and said, we just made 4 hours of pretty cool radio happen with these and my fingers and my brain.
Yeah.
And that was so rewarding because you almost have to work harder to make a difference than just saying something. You have to wrap everything in music and sound effects and timing and all of that. And I really took a lot of pride and joy in that. And that's what I try to bring in to interviews now, being on stage, owning my own recording studio where I do all of my stuff now.
Yeah.
I always try to create that full-on experience. So it's not just the words, it's the emotions you can create with a well-timed sound effect or piece of music or a visual or something. I try to create an experience with everything I produce. And I think that's what I love most about radio. And the people I worked with taught me a ton.
Yeah.
And some of those people are still part of my life, even 20 plus years later. And I'm so grateful for all the people that have been part of my journey. Nobody is successful alone.
Yeah.
Some people say, oh, that person is completely self-made. No, they're not.
Yeah.
They had people that taught them along the way. Whether or not they choose to acknowledge those people, that's one thing. I'm not alone on anything. There is nothing self-made about me. I'm pinballing my way through this world and just picking up some knowledge from everybody, and always trying to be respectful enough to thank people for being part of my journey.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm not very religious anymore, but back when I was younger, I remember being at our church. My mom always dragged me to, and
I was raised Catholic in my youth as well, and I'm also just kind of on my own.
Yeah. So, but the one thing I think is probably the only thing he ever said that I remember from my old pastor is he's like, you're not really you. You are a mixture of everyone you've spent like a little bit of time in a room with. Yeah. So throughout your life, you've become literally a mixture of everyone you've spent time with.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Somebody can say something one day. You can see something. That's why I have my camera and my voice recorder with me at all times. I've pulled over to pull a branch out of a road or to shovel out a fire hydrant on a tiny street, and had somebody drive by and just thumbs up or roll down the window and say, thank you so much for doing that, because what would have happened if the firemen took 5 extra minutes and had to unbury that, and somebody could lose their house. And I'm thinking, all these little people who just offer up a thank you or a bit of gratitude or a bit of advice, or when I see somebody doing something kind, that triggers me to want to do something. One of my favorite games in the world is shopping cart rodeo. And when you go rescue a carriage from somewhere and offer it to somebody, and then you make them laugh, or just all these people affect me every day, no matter whether I'm on stage in front of 1,000 people, or the other day warming up the the handle of a shopping cart for a woman who thought it was so funny that I was rubbing my hands back and forth saying, I want to pre-warm this for you. It's been out in the cold for a while. That still makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And every time I think of that, and that's going to be part of a stage story now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, you do a lot of speaking gigs?
I took a few months off to move because I've got to tear down my old recording studio and build the new one, and then dealing with all the hoops of buying a new home. But I'm starting to get back into that and starting to build the schedule back up. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Because I've always wanted to get into speaking gigs, but I'm like, I actually don't have anything to say yet, so I'll wait a little bit.
Sure you do. Sure you do. You could speak to people who want to host their own shows.
That'd be pretty cool.
Even that. I've been building up my YouTube channel for really seriously for about the last 2 years, but I've had it for about 8 years. Mm-hmm. And I look back to where I started 8 years ago, and then I think of all the people that have educated me along the way. Wow, I've deleted about 400 of my kindergarten videos that were just, I saw one yesterday that was just horrible. And I stopped and I thought, I said, well, okay, there's this guy Brian, and there's this other guy, and there's Tim, and there's Nez, and all these people that have shaped my channel that I've learned from. And when I go back to thank them, they just say, I'm just a regular guy. I'm like, yeah, but you helped me get here, and you've got something pretty valuable. So, share that with people somehow. Get it on out there, because somebody else out there is looking for a hero today.
Yeah.
And if you're that much farther, if you're that many shows into your own, or episodes into your own show, then you've got some value just for that.
Yeah.
So create a little thing about how to start your own show. And somebody will be a fan, and somebody will get something from it, and probably reach out and say, well, you said if you could do it, anybody could. So I'm going to take your advice now. I'm going to go do it. I coach people that want to be speakers. I say, I want to be a speaker and travel the world. I'm like, you're crazy. This is work, man.
Yeah.
People think you just get up on a stage and blah, 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 blah. Like, well, that's the fun part. Doing it as a business, that's the hard part. I've invested a lot of money in some serious education on how to do it as a business.
Yeah.
And it takes time and a lot of work, but I'm thankful for the people that have taken the time to offer me some advice.
Cool. Well, that's actually a pretty cool area to get into. What does it take to do something like that on full time? Because one of the big stepping stones, I guess you want to say, when you reach that level of importance, is people kind of expect to have to do a lot of speaking events and things like that. Mm-hmm. You see it all the time. Anytime someone like, was it Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, any big name in any industry, they kind of start doing speaking events. Yeah. So it's kind of that people feel they probably have to, whether they do have to or not.
I actually used to host my own events.
Yeah.
And I hope to never, ever, ever have to do that again. It's a pain in the butt. Yeah. It really is. Because I would have people that said, oh, can we pay at the door? Or it starts off as, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. I've got to be there and I'll bring a bunch of people. And then a little while later, it's, can I pay at the door? And then the next day after you sat there in an empty room for an hour and nobody showed up, they'll email you and say, tell me when the next one is.
Yeah.
So I blew a lot of money early on, a lot of frustration. And I finally figured out, why don't I just try to create a message that's more valuable to a potential client to hire me to come in? You have to speak for free a lot to get noticed and to kind of get your legs. And I tell people, first thing to do, join a Toastmasters club.
Oh, yeah.
And learn to craft your stories. Average speech in Toastmasters, 5 to 7 minutes. I do 2-hour events now, but they all started as those little nuggets. So first off, figure out what your message is going to be, and figure out a pain out there that you can provide value for, and you can help people to get past something. If you're just looking to rah-rah-rah, well, there's a lot of people out there to do that.
Yeah.
But find a pain that's out there and figure out a way that you can authentically share some advice that will help with that pain, and then just get really, really good. And people will notice. Now, that's to an extent. Then you have to start marketing yourself and selling, which I really don't like to do. I'm not great at it.
Yeah.
I like to just be out there, and somebody offered me a great bit of advice recently.
Yeah.
Get so amazing that the world cannot possibly ignore you.
Yeah.
So that's the path I'm on now, just to try to become amazing.
Well,
but also to market myself. I will approach people, and I'll submit, the little resume, the little proposals, but I'm not hyper aggressive with selling, and it's probably to my detriment. But I just want to be that guy on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you talk about on stage?
I am a back to basics blend of positivity and humor.
Okay.
And a customer recently described this, and I hope I get this right. We can have people come in all year long and teach our people their job skills, but when their hearts and their souls are exhausted and they can't remember why they even do what they do, we bring in Steve. And I thought that was the greatest description of what I do. I'm that, end of the year, at the annual conference, burst of good energy that tries to dig deep and remind people. My number one keynote is called Attitude, Action, Traction. Okay. We talk about having the choice of a positive attitude and not just being, hey, every day above ground's a great day, because that's garbage. But we have a choice every day of how we react to everything.
Yeah.
Taking consistent action towards what our goals are. That's important. They don't just happen for us. And then gaining traction is taking any bit of knowledge that you acquire and doing something with it, applying it, going somewhere with it, gaining traction. And a lot of people say they bring me in for A, the energy level, but B, that reminder to get back to basics every once in a while. We get bogged down. The world around us, if you watch the news all day, every day, is not a happy experience.
Yeah.
So to remind us of what is most important to us and to put more of the good stuff in our lives every day. And that's basically what it comes down to. And laugh a lot. And there's a lot of storytelling and some pretty powerful visuals that I use on screen while I'm describing them. And
Yeah.
when somebody approaches you 3 years after a speaking event in the Captain Crunch aisle of a grocery store in Nashua, and not only remembers you, but remembers the story you told, the picture you used, and how you described it, and then tells you how he applied it in his life and improved things, that's better than a paycheck.
Yeah.
It really is.
That would be really, really cool.
I was amazed and humbled and honored, and I still talk about that as one of the greatest moments in 15 years as a speaker. The guy that came up to me 3 years after an event and told me what he did with it and how he improved his life. That's better than a paycheck.
Yeah.
Honestly is.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to do a quick word from the sponsors, and then we'll move right on to the second section of the show. And so everyone hold on just a moment. Jordan Peterson wrote a program called the Self-Authorship Program, I think with the help of some of his colleagues. Now, this program was designed to help people understand their pasts and to really get over events in the past that have bothered them, know who they are in the present, and become who you want to be in the future, because these things are possible. So instead of just riding the roller coaster of life aimlessly, jump into the Self-Authorship Program at nhbusinessshow.com/self-author and really take responsibility for your life, point it in the direction you want to go into, and then just move with it. There's nothing better than improving yourself, and when you take that responsibility onto yourself, you'll be amazed how much better you feel long run. So nhbusinessshow.com/self-author and get started today. You said you host a show of your own as well?
Yeah, I've got a podcast, radio show. Yeah.
What do you guys talk about?
It's kind of an extension. I take my articles and repurpose them as radio shows, as videos.
That's pretty cool.
I write all my articles practically in real time on LinkedIn, and instead of agonizing over them, I just go on LinkedIn and I go, okay, as fast as I can think them up. Then I just clean up the punctuation. Bang, it's an article.
Yeah.
And then it's a video, and then it's a radio show generally.
That's super cool. I like that approach.
Somebody told me that years ago. They said, why are you killing yourselves for content? Take one really good idea and put it everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, that's easier.
Yeah. That's, like I was going to say, this is probably a killer tip for everybody. Two things on that, actually. First one is, like you said, if you write a blog post about it or an article, make a little video about it.
Yeah.
And talk about it another time. So you can put it up on multiple forums. Super easy.
Yep.
The other one is stop caring so much about perfection.
Oh, God.
It'll
never be perfect.
Yeah.
It'll never be perfect.
Yeah, and just make it, when it's done, put it out.
Yeah.
No one's expecting you to be super perfect, because you're either a brand new company or even the guys at the top. You're human. Who cares?
Yeah.
The authentic, the authenticness of your message is more important.
Yeah. I shot a video on the sidewalk outside a hotel in want to say it was in Nashville, because I was so proud that I bypassed the bacon buffet and actually found the hotel gym.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in a t-shirt. The wind's blowing my hair all over the place. I mean, I use powder and stuff because I got rosacea and nothing. Just and go.
Yeah.
And somebody emailed me and said, that is the greatest video you've ever done.
Yeah.
Because you were just you.
Yeah.
And I said, well, okay, imperfection. People can relate to that.
Yeah.
I don't do Hollywood blockbuster videos. I'm just me.
Yeah.
I've got better lighting than I used to have. I found an old video yesterday that somebody was using on their website, and I said, oh, yeah, that testimonial, I'm going to redo that. That's cringeworthy.
Yeah.
She emailed me an hour later and said, you won't believe this. I just got a phone call from a guy who's hiring me. She's a hypnotherapist because he saw your video. Like, he probably said, well, if you could make that goofy looking dude better. But that actually happened last night.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
That's probably my favorite part about everything is I'll talk to someone who came on the show and they're like, yeah, like some people reached out because, they liked what they heard.
Yep.
Like that's the point.
Yeah.
I dig deep, especially in the beginning on your past, who you are, or why do you do what you do, because that's important. People forget about it when they market all the time. They talk about what, like, oh, I do this. Take your example. It's like I'm a hypnotherapist. Like, well, there's more to it. Like, that's a cool story. Why did you get there?
Yeah. If you want the deepest reason of why why I do this, it goes back to why I even got in radio.
Yeah.
You ever have a friend who just badgers you? You should go do this. You'd be great at it.
Mm-hmm.
And you finally listen.
Yeah.
That was my friend Danny in the early 90s. You should be on the radio. Because I just getting out of college. I was broke, living on my grandfather's couch, depressed. Didn't know what to do with my life at age 22.
Yeah.
So 24 years old, finally borrowed some money from my grandfather, went to broadcast school, got my first radio internship, not even a job. Hadn't seen Danny all summer. I drove down to his house, and he was so happy and so proud, and he died 3 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
Died of cancer. He was 23.
Oh,
it took me 10 years to get the lesson, but it went back to when somebody believes in you, listen to them, because they see something in you that you don't even see in your own mirror.
Yeah.
Because you got so much garbage in the way of, I can't do that because I'm not whatever. And I became a speaker because I want to be that person for others. And it took a dear friend of mine 17 questions to get to that reason why you're a speaker. Because I want to help people. Why you're a speaker, really. 17 questions later, with tears coming down my face, I remembered Danny.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, okay, don't ever forget why you're a speaker.
Yeah.
So to me, it's the person who comes in late, who's sitting all the way in the back, who won't even look at me, who sat in his or her car, afraid to even come in, or maybe sat out there crying. And I've got a family member with anxiety who's done this. I said, that's who I have to work hardest for. Not the people in the front who've seen me 10 times and clap and scream and know all the stories. I said, it's that person. So I will never, ever take for granted being on stage. The applause means not quite as much as seeing somebody connect.
Yeah.
And it's always been that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is pretty powerful. I will say that's a very good message.
There's a picture of me and Danny in some of my presentations. And that's one thing as a speaker, never leave people sad. Don't talk about your friend that died and then turn around and think they're going to be okay. So the picture of us, I now say, there are 3 things I miss in this picture. Obviously, I miss my friend. I miss how simple life was in 1992. Oh,
man.
And I always put my thumb at the picture and I said, and I miss the ability to wear horizontally striped clothing. And I always look down at my stomach. I'm like, I wear verticals now.
That's super funny. By the way.
Audiences really love that line because then it gives permission to move on.
Yeah.
They may be thinking of somebody in their life that they lost. And I learned early on, don't leave people sad.
Yeah.
And I actually made somebody cry one time, and I felt like the biggest jerk in the world. So that's when I developed the humorous comeback.
Yeah, you kind of
we're good with that now.
You pull out of it a little bit so they're not leaving on that subject.
Yeah.
That would be the best way to end it. You just tell a super sad story. You're like, hey, see you guys next time.
Yeah, it's been really nice. Why aren't you replying? Why is there a box of Kleenex being Oh, I'm an idiot and I made you cry. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, that's way too funny.
Oh, yeah, true.
So let's talk a little bit about your books.
Sure.
Because when you brought them over, I went through them all. They're pretty cool.
Thank you.
So let me just show them here real quick.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of them. As you can see.
There's a couple of learning experiences behind two of them.
Yeah.
Always, one learning experience when your book is called 20 to Life in a Good Way.
Yeah.
Make sure all 20 chapters are in the proof that is sent to you before you say, you know what? Print 1,000 copies. Guess who didn't check the proof? I had 1,000 copies of that with only 12 chapters in it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
That's funny. It's supposed to be 20 chapters? Or
Oh, yeah. Something shiny happened. I was checking the proof. I'm like, cover page, yep. Dedication, yep. Yeah. Phone rang, something, squirrel. Something happened, and I never went to the end of the proof. And they had missed a bunch of the files. They didn't scroll down. That's not their fault. It's mine.
Yeah.
And I went and picked up 1,000 copies of the book. And I'm sitting in Route 93 traffic on a Friday afternoon heading north, which means parked. Mm-hmm. And I decided to look at the book. I'm like, wow, it looks thinner than I thought, but okay. On my steering wheel, chapters 8, 9, 10. Wow, this book looks thin. 11, 12, the end. Oh, no. I called the guy up. He goes, dude, the book looks great. I'm like, dude, there's 8 chapters missing. And turned out I had failed too. It was $1,600. That was my quarterly tax payment.
Yeah.
I took it to pay for the books, and then I figured I'll put the tax money back when I sell them. Had 1,000 copies of a book I couldn't sell. And canceled all my events for a couple of weeks and crawled in my recording studio and just sat there until a friend of mine said, you are brilliant. You just made 1,000 limited edition samplers of your new book.
That's a really good way to look at it.
Thank God for him.
Yeah.
And so I begged, borrowed, worked out a deal where I could pay part with a credit card, got 1,000 copies printed, and within 3 months had sold enough to pay for both printings. So
that's fantastic.
That friend saved my life, because that would have been the biggest, brightest bonfire you had ever seen.
Yeah. And it goes back to what you said about, we're just it's not just you, it's everyone else in your life who helps you through that, because like you said, your face was so deep in just being ashamed of making a giant mistake that you couldn't see the simple solution to it that someone pointed in your direction.
Yeah. And people would say, hey, where can I buy the real one? I would hand these out at speaking events.
Yeah.
And people would call me up, where can I buy the full book?
Yeah.
Right there at my website. Why not? So I'm so thankful for that friend. And every once in a while he'll look at me and he'll shake his head, and I'll say, I know what you're thinking about. I screwed up, but it's a bit overused, but some people say, make your mess your message, which it's actually true. Just show people you're real. Yeah. That's all. Just be real. None of us, I don't care if it's the biggest, most famous people on the planet, they have all screwed up. That's how they learned to be great. Is they tried something, they failed, they learned, and then they tried again.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
How did you go about deciding what you wanted to write your book on?
When early on in my career, I was having a conversation with another speaker, and he said, well, who are you? And I said, well, I want to, help people and be positive messages. And he kept after me, and I said, I'm like the motivational firewood guy. I said, I want to give little pieces of advice and information and not say that I have this super secret formula. I said, I just want to throw these positive things out there. And if you've got a spark of desire in your heart, if you've got a goal, but you don't know quite how to do it, and something I share kind of ignites that, I said, that's motivational firewood. Mm-hmm. And then his next question was, do you know anything about trademarks? No. He says, you might want to trademark. He says, that's actually an interesting concept. So anytime I write a book, what I want to do is, I don't write 400-page books. Yeah. Why? Because I don't read 400-page books. Mm-hmm. I want to give people just bullet points, information. So most of my books are just a positive quote, a call to action, that's the motivational firewood part, and then journal pages where people actually take action on it, because I'm a big believer in journaling and writing down your journey. So I leave room in there that if people applied that thing, they can write down the date, what they did, and their result. So they can kind of keep it as a journey and not just read it and throw it on a shelf.
Yeah.
So that's really what all of my books are. I've got a new one coming out, I'm hoping by Memorial Day. I've selected all the quotes. I've just got to find some graphics and go from there. But it'll be in the same vein. It'll be just these little bits that if they hit you a certain way one day and get you to do something, then rock on. Let's share this journey together. And I love hearing from people And one of the books, of course, was written by a dog, Super Teddy Maximus, who was he was a rescue, and it started as a joke. At the end of my second book, I just put a couple quotes from Super Teddy, and people started asking, when's he going to have his own book? So out came Bust Out of Your Crate, Super Teddy's Top 20 Tips for People to Be as Happy as Dogs.
That's too funny.
Yeah. It literally started off as a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. I like that.
Happy accidents.
That's clever,
Yeah. My stepmom and my wife adopted him 9 years ago. He was born to a stray mama dog in the streets of New Orleans. Mm-hmm. He was rescued, he was fostered, he was evacuated up here, and they adopted him. And according to my mother-in-law, I've been pimping him out ever since.
Well, if it works.
It works. He's adorable.
Yeah.
He's loving a fur coat. He's got his own book. He's got his own postcard series. He's been in 2 fundraising calendars.
Nice.
And people love that. And if I can put a little motivation behind it and say it's coming from him, go for it.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
Yeah,
I don't bring him to speaking events anymore because nobody pays attention to me.
Yeah.
I turn into the teacher from Charlie Brown. Walk, 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 walk.
Yeah, it's an easy way to lose your audience when you bring
bring a cute animal. Forget it. The end.
Oh, man, that's too funny. So, do you have any tips for people who want to get into kind of sim line of work, either podcasting or, public speaking, that type of stuff?
For people that want to be, we're all public speakers, by the way. If you speak to any other human being in public, congratulations, you're a public speaker. Paycheck or stage don't matter. If you deal with other people in your business, you are a public speaker. The thing that changed my life the most was being part of a Toastmasters chapter in Concord. We met at 7 a.m. on Fridays. That's the other 7 o'clock. That's the early one. It gave me so much confidence, and it helped me to shape all of my messages. So I encourage people, if you're not comfortable in front of other people speaking, if you're not sure what to say, join Toastmasters. If you want to start your own radio show, find a free podcasting platform. I use Podbean. Think BeanPod, but backwards. Podbean.com. And it's free for a certain amount of bandwidth.
Yeah.
If you want to have do videos, start your own YouTube channel. And just go and learn. Look on YouTube. You can learn how to do anything on YouTube.
Yeah.
So look up how to start a YouTube channel. And I've got dear friends of mine who've shaped mine a lot. And somebody asked me recently, how did you get so confident on camera? Or so comfortable on camera?
Yeah.
My answer is always the same. I shot more than 400 uncomfortable videos. That's how I got comfortable on camera.
Yeah.
Now, most of those are gone because they were just cringeworthy. But I wouldn't have gotten better if I hadn't just tried it.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. That's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, if you want to get better on camera, get on camera.
Get on camera.
I'm like,
yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. And don't stare at the camera. I've got friends who've said, I find myself staring at the camera and not, I said, well, pretend the camera's a friend of yours who really needs some advice.
Yeah.
And you're just sharing, you're having a conversation. You don't have to yell and scream. You don't have to be a Hollywood production. Just have a conversation with the camera. And some of the videos that people have responded most positively to for me were these off the cuff, get in front of the camera and share a message conversationally. Yeah. And then just say, see you next time. Thanks for watching at the end. And that's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Pretty cool. So I think that's a pretty good place to leave off for now. Is there anything else you wanted to go over real quick?
No, this has been a blast.
All right, cool.
Thank you so much. Oh, this is great, man. I love doing these.
Yeah, this is fun. So thank you so much for joining me. And
Thank you.
I think I got some good tips there for the audience and a lot of good advice for helping people, I guess, move in their businesses or whatever.
Awesome. Hey, anytime I end, I just hope there was some value there for somebody.
Yeah, definitely.
Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to roll out with a quick word from our sponsors, and I will see you all in the next interview. There is nothing like getting a good referral for your business. If you're looking for a better business, head over to nhbusinessshow.com/goldstar to join our referral network today. We have spots open for many industries, including real estate and insurance. So if you're looking for a good networking group to pass referral to and get referrals, reach out.